It happens every week now, doesn't it? Just before we go live, and we're still arguing about something. This time, shocker, it was VAR. We will get to that. The old ruler was out at the weekend, which was always fantastic to see. Anyway, good evening. What a weekend we have just seen, by the way. A Super Sunday with one of the biggest games of the campaign so far. Before that, a remarkable Saturday. 17 goals in 3 games. If my maths with that ruler are still decent, Al, I'm pretty sure I clocked 17 goals in 3 games. What a start we had to the weekend. It means lots of discussion to be had, plenty of action to look back on the Scottish Football Social Club. We are live in X and YouTube, a repeat on the TV as well. Maybe that's where you're watching, so don't send any questions in if that's the case. Anyway, after yesterday, Mikey, are you happy? Are you content? A little point there for the Jambos.
What's one of the Chuckle Brothers up to in the corner there?
Seems happy.
Oh, it's just a good weekend, isn't it? Just all round for Scottish football again. Just really enjoyed it.
Well, I think in terms of Scottish football, it was a good another good weekend. It's a great season, an absolutely brilliant season that is bubbling along incredibly well, and I think in large part due to obviously what Hearts are doing, it's making out for a season that will be remembered for a long, long time.
What do you think, Al? You're obviously happy after that Sunday, but could there still
what makes you think he's happy, Darrell?
I don't know. He's never been happier these last few weeks. I've never seen him.
What I said last week was something's got to give, and it did. And I was listening as the week went on, everybody's opinion at who they wants to win, what scenario was better. But a draw, it was a really good game, enjoyed it. But Rangers are sitting in a nice position now, in front of Celtic, into second, and then they're closing down in Hearts. So, Mikey's spot on. What a season we've had. It's been amazing.
Al, would you rather have had a Jambos win in that game?
Possibly, aye. Because I feel that Rangers can close the gap, yes, and it just keeps Celtic at bay.
Is he just falling off his seat?
Oh, the arrogance!
I'm just sitting here with that, just putting him out there.
He's just been honest. I asked him. At least I got an honest answer from him.
Well, do you know what? Long may it continue, Darrell. Long may it continue. I think with that mindset, that'll come a cropper through West. I tell you.
I just like having fun, me and Michael. That's all. Don't take it too seriously.
I don't think so. I think there's a wee bit of revisionism there, Alan.
I think it was just the truth. Just came out with the truth, put on the spot. That's an honest answer. Anyway, we've got lots to get into, right? I quick mention the sponsors. The Scottish Football Social Club is brought to you in association with SBK and Premier Sports. SBK, a betting app that cuts out the nonsense, just straight up sports betting for folk who actually care about the game. Proper odds, no gimmicks. Right, come on, let's get into it then. The 17 goals that I mentioned on Saturday, Al, 8 of them were at Pittodrie. Aberdeen needed a win, but Livy need points as well. First half, it looked like it could go either way. In the end, it's a resounding victory for the Dons.
Yeah, I mean, where do you even start with this game? I mean, so much happened within the 90 plus minutes. It was just crazy. And you're right, I think Aberdeen, with everything that's gone on recently, they were really needing a performance, and they're struggling for goals. So to get 6 in this one game is quite incredible. And Livy are really struggling. They're starting to get cut away at the bottom of the league. And again, I think it's like 48 goals have conceded. This is obviously to try and make it 2-0 and the debacle that was VAR and
don't worry, Al, I'm coming back to that.
Get there. Are we coming back? Right, yes. We'll save that then. We'll save that. But no, I thought they looked defensively. The 2 goals, May just puts balls into the box. I think that's something that they're going to have to look at and try and fix, because they've had a problem with set plays. But I think in terms of going forward, it was more like the old selves, I would say, under Jimmy Talleen when he first came in. Mitchell Frame, I thought, was excellent in his debut, getting down the line, getting balls into the box, looked full of confidence. This is what Aberdeen are good at. Nisbet playing as a striker between the posts, gets on the end of a couple of really good crosses. And yeah, they go in at half time, 3-2 up, and then kind of taking control after that. Look, I don't know what's said, I don't know what happened, so I'm not going to kind of get involved with that. But for me, the kind of argy-bargy between 2 players, I would have just given them a yellow card and said get on with it, because as soon as that happens, they go off. The game then opens up and it falls into the favour of Aberdeen. But, I mean, what a game. I mean, all those goals, some good play, some poor as well, but Aberdeen needed that.
Mikey, what did you think of it?
That performance and result for me is pretty damning on what has been going on beforehand. I thought it was very exciting from Aberdeen. I thought they handled the disappointment of when they should have gone 2-0 up to then, very quickly find themselves 2-1 down. I thought they handled it really well and just kept at it. And I thought the other thing that was quite telling was when they went 2-2, deep into the end of the first half, Peter Leven is urging the team to get back, get the ball back, get going, and obviously to score again quickly. They make it 3-2 before half time. I thought, I mean, I suppose it sort of falls into the same category as the chat with Man United and Michael Carrick going in there, that the club have been scarred and the fans have been scarred with going through that process and giving the job to Ole Gunnar before, that sort of makes his potential of getting it longer term more difficult. For Peter Leven, I think it's very much the same. I mean, not that he's been looked upon as a long-term, option.
Yeah.
Due to obviously what had happened with Barry Robson before, I think everybody's a little bit more reluctant. But I've got to say that when Peter Leven took over previously, I thought he instilled a good style of football quickly. And although it's not happened as quickly now, because there's a few games, the two against Rangers in particular were really poor. That game there, and again, granted it was against the bottom team in the league, it was just far more what you would expect from Aberdeen. And by the way, look at, and I'm not, hammering home this point as if it's some sort of like xenophobic, want, but they had 7 Scots in the starting lineup. 7 Scots, as Al just touched on. I thought Mitchell Frame was outstanding. And I just think you can start to have a bit more of an identity about the team. You can start.
Spannenstiel, if you remember, he did say that's something he'd like to have. A more local identity. The fans can get involved with a team that they love.
I think it's important, and obviously we'll touch on Hearts later on as well, but I think when you look at the spine of the Hearts team, it's mixed in with a little bit of that X factor from elsewhere. And I personally think that's the best way to get results. And I think Aberdeen, looking at them there, they look like they could potentially have a good strong second half to the season here.
Yeah, and players are coming in as well. Look, we got as far as the red cards in the edit there. We'll try and show you the rest of the goals. Just on the red cards, what do you think?
It's never a red card. I mean, from what you see in the pictures, the two guys are pushing and shoving each other. Now, I just think, again, it's another one of those instances where whether it's linesmen or fourth officials getting involved in something that they think they have seen, when in reality, why not just take a step back? Stop urgently wanting to send people off and disallow goals. It spoils games. It spoils games.
Just a yellow card for each of them and just get on with it. Enough's enough. Just get on with it.
That's plenty. We get to this position where we just say, oh, well, maybe just a yellow card. How about just having a word with them? How about just having a word and saying, guys, you can't do that. If you keep behaving like that, I'll give you a yellow card. I mean, what would be wrong with that?
Yeah. On the Dons then, Alan, they've signed a goalkeeper. Olasanya has come in as well, so another option up top. Liam Morrison, centre-half ex-Celtic, was at Bayern Munich before he moved on again. Polvara looks like he is about to go. So what I would say is it looks like, yes, players are leaving. They're maybe trying to get rid of some who either don't want to be there long-term or who haven't made an impact. But they continue to invest in the team.
Yeah, he's back, right?
Yes.
But they invested heavily in the team. But
exactly, that's what I'm saying. But they're not holding back again.
Yeah, because for whatever reason, it's not worked out. I thought they had a lot of options in the top end of the pitch. It wasn't clicking for whatever reason. So they felt like Carlson's now left the club. They're going to bring in who they feel that can kick on for the second part of the season and get that blend, as Michael's talking about, right? I think if you can get that, you will eventually start winning games and picking up points. And this is a good start for them with this result. Can they now kick on and start climbing up that table. But
yeah.
I like the fact that they've decided early, right, we're not happy with the squad, we're going to make changes. Yes, we've put money into it, but we're willing to change now. So I think that's what needs to be done.
And after those red cards, they obviously kicked on. Here's the rest of the goals, scoring 3 more. Keskinen as well is looking a little bit more like the Keskinen when he joined Aberdeen too. Yeah, yeah. So it looks like they've got more attacking intent, Michael, that's for sure.
Yeah. I was just going to say as well, like, see when it went down to 10, like, I felt like Livingston were still pushing it to try and get in it, and they just opened wide up. And it was like these kind of goals, these are easy for somebody that's got a little bit of pace, technique. It was too easy in the end up. And I said earlier, like, that's Livingston conceded something like 48 goals. If you're conceding that many, you're always going to be down there and struggling.
Yeah, Livy, it's kind of alarm bells, Michael. I've seen some of the fans as well, some comments today. They're obviously not happy. David Martindale was also sent off in the game. He was also fuming, by the way, during the week because of the late goal St Mirren scored, and he wasn't pleased with an incident in that game. Should also say, by the way, that Livingston have said they're going to contact the SFA to report Aberdeen over an alleged racist comment made to striker Jeremy Bakila, that red card incident. Let's not get into that because we don't know the details yet. But just on Livy, I mean, it's just as well they're still within touching distance of a team, Michael, above them in Killie, or else it would have been a bad run, would have looked even worse, if you like.
There's no doubt about it. We've been saying it for quite a while now that the two of them on horrendous runs. I think Killie are on the verge of a club record winless run. That obviously is not something that they want to be achieving by any stretch of the imagination. And for Livy to have not won since I think it was the end of August since the last one. I mean, there's no way of dressing that up other than saying it's relegation form, to be perfectly honest. So as much as for St Mirren, they've struggled to drag themselves away, I think we all think that they will have enough to be able to grab points to get away from it. So I'm not really changing my view that it's between the two of them as to who's going down and who's getting the playoff spot.
Yeah. Aberdeen, of course, they've got eyes still in the top 6. They've got a gap to claw back as well now. So the incident in the game that I promised we'd come back to, Alan, let me come back to you on it then, since you started talking about it. Right. So Nisbet goal chopped off. The VAR lines could not be drawn. That's what we were told. Incredible. So the ref is sent over to the monitor with the advice, I assume, is that have a close look at this because it looks like he's offside, so we should give it as offside. What's your take on it?
You can't make a decision by looking at a still and saying, look, he's offside. I mean, how many times have we seen images of this sort of thing? And when you're doing co-coms or whatever, you think in your mind, he's offside or not, he's onside, and you get it wrong until you see the lines and they actually put everything in. There is no way you can shout the referee over to look at a still like that and make a decision. I mean, we were laughing at the beginning when we were off here because I said, maybe just give the ref a ruler and he can stand by the speed. So that goes with his wee spray and his whistle and his watch and you get a ruler just in case the lines don't work. But it's incredible. I mean... It
is. I don't get it. And look, I sent a still image to you, Alan, before this programme started. Michael, I know you looked at this at the weekend as well. But if anyone has a chance to have a look, you spoke about it, anyone that has a chance to look at Virgil van Dijk, the offside, the goal that Bournemouth scored at the weekend, initially, for all intents and purposes, you look at the still frame and it looks like the Bournemouth player is beyond Van Dijk and offside. It's all about the angle you're looking at, and yet their VAR looks at it and by millimetres, the Bournemouth player's on, goal stands, and therefore, doesn't it make a mockery of the whole system? The system hasn't worked there for whatever reason, Michael, okay, because they can't draw the lines accurately.
I'll tell you why.
You just make an assumption.
I tell you why, and I'm pretty certain on this. They couldn't draw the line because they couldn't visualise where the last defender's foot was because it was blocked by the other defender. So they can't draw a line off of it because they can't see the guy's foot. But they want the ref to be able to judge it by his eye, even though he can't see the last defender's back foot off a line that's not directly in line with the defender, and you're overturning a decision. And again, I go back to my point here. Football is about scoring goals. And by the way, that was a cracking goal. Brilliant ball from Stuart Armstrong. Great first touch for Kevin Nisbet and a lovely finish. And Aberdeen go 2-0 up. And you're calling refs over to make... I find it...
The pressure on the
scandalous.
referees, well, by the way, at that point is absolutely terrible.
I
Do you
find
not
it...
just have to go with goal? Do you not just have to go with goal?
Yeah,
You've
you
got
would think
to,
so.
Like, if you can't tell, you would need to see something to go, no, definitely, 100% he's offside. You can't do that there.
It's
Like,
scandalous.
It's important
Scandalous.
points in the game. We said this last season. There was a shocker towards the end of the season. Teams could end up getting relegated on this sort of decision. A title could be decided.
Yeah.
Then all hell really would break loose, by the
And
way,
this
if that
is-
sort of thing happens.
You're setting precedents here.
You are.
Where is the sort of the rule or the law? I mean, has anybody actually heard? Is this the protocol? You can't draw a line, so just look at a still and maybe make your mind up off of that.
Well, it's the protocol now, Michael.
But
Anyway, look, just...
Of course. And
Yeah.
but Darrell, final point on this
Yes.
is, why does it seem like here in Scotland, our officials are so desperate, as I said before, and we'll be looking at one in a minute here as well, about sending people off like so quickly and disallowing goals for microscopic decisions that they actually don't know definitively. They're guessing to a certain extent.
And we should...
Why not verge on the side of, let's give the benefit of the doubt, keep players on the park and allow goals to stand?
And I'll mention this point for one last time, because we've had this a few times this season, and I've said this before. Effectively in Scotland, it's VAR light anyway, because we have fewer cameras available than many of the other so-called bigger leagues. So already it's difficult to make the right calls based on some of the cameras that we have available, and then we're doing things like that.
Well, Darrell, we've seen with marginal decisions like that, the system isn't even accurate enough. So even if they're drawing lines on that, we can't trust it because it's not accurate enough.
No, we've been told before we can't question these things. Well, it's been questioned this season, and all that's going to do is make pundits, whoever, players, managers maybe, and fans most importantly, question things again. And there's another point by Graham Gibb as well, which that's obviously been brought up by quite a few people within moments of lengthy VAR decisions as well. Maybe players losing concentration. It could be an issue. But anyway, we need to move forward, just as well as only 5 games to get through. We're almost 18 minutes in, Al. Let's get on to Falkirk against Hibs, which ended up, Al, being the Barney Stewart show. He signed a contract extension about 45 minutes ago, which is great news for Falkirk and John McGlynn.
Simon, that Patrick then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you hear what John McGlynn had said about Barney Stewart? He says he's probably the lowest paid player in the top flight.
Yeah,
well,
not anymore. Not anymore. Surely. Anyway, contract is done. He was excellent, but do you know what? Yeah. So was Falkirk. I mean, you can say whatever you want about Hibs and missing players and everything else, Al, but Falkirk throughout the whole game created so many opportunities. They're defending well too. They look as if they're going to be hard to dislodge from that top 6.
Yeah, you feel so, don't you? I mean, Calvin Miller I thought was brilliant as well.
Brilliant.
Honest, sure to get all the plaudits obviously for the happy. I think this guy here in the picture was outstanding. His energy, his willingness to run and work hard and be creative as well. I mean, he does everything. And what I like, Barney Stewart's come back in, he wants to play as a striker, as a number 9. Like the Nisbet goals that we just seen, he plays between the posts, he can sniff out an opportunity, he's got good movement, and he's got all the energy in the world, and he's willing to learn as well. So I'm glad that he signed that new contract after his manager saying that. But in terms of their overall play, I just thought they were excellent. We know how they want to play. Defensively, they've got so much better as the seasons went on. I think they've learned a lot of lessons, but improved and continuously done what they've been doing for seasons in attacking areas. And I thought it was a real good performance. And listen, you could tell David Gray after he was raging. He thought they were second best to everything. And they were. Look, there was a stage, as poor as they'd played, they could have got back into it with a Bashiri goal. But I just thought Falkirk had so much more in the tank. And you just feel they're kicking on. They're building up that momentum right now. And they're playing really, really well.
Yeah, some of the Hibs fans, obviously, Michael, not happy tonight. But just on Falkirk for a second, because I will talk Hibs with you. John McGlynn, the reputation, it grows and grows. When other jobs are still available, the Falkirk fans will wonder. But why should he not be linked with some of the again, so-called bigger top jobs? Because what he's done is astonishing there.
Absolutely. I think that the job he's done is incredible. And Ian McCall was on the radio at the weekend talking about this, and I thought he made a very good point that John McGlynn has evolved as a manager, because as a coach and a manager, he wasn't always like this way, in terms of really sort of clear philosophy on, the youngsters and playing a good style of football. And I think he attributes a lot of it to the time that he worked at Celtic under Brendan Rodgers, opening his eyes to that sort of thing. And I think he's married it all together brilliantly. And for Falkirk, they're reaping the rewards of this. He's a manager that's at the top of his game at the moment. He's put a squad together that I've got a lot of admiration for. And long may it continue. I think it's 6,500 season tickets that Falkirk have got at the moment. Most games you're seeing are packed out at the Falkirk Stadium. And no wonder there's a feel-good factor there. They play good football, they're riding high, and there's some real sort of fairy tale stories in amongst that squad as well. It's great to see.
It is. On Hibs then, look, there are 5 changes. I think they really have missed Josh Mulligan since he's been injured in that cup game. Actually, I'd noticed a huge difference. Looks like he's out for a while too, so it's a blow. As Alan said, David Gray, Michael, was furious after the game. And we just saw one comment from a Hibs fan. I've seen many, many more. I think this happens after a couple of poor defeats in a row. The Hibs fans start to worry again and wonder, because there's a lot of good players there, Michael. And in this season of opportunities, it feels like Hibs are missing an awful lot.
100%. I don't know if it's fair to say, but I do get a sense that with Hibs fans, it almost feels like it's more apparent, that sort of nervousness and anxiety. It comes around quite quickly for Hibs as a support. And
maybe that's because of Hearts.
Well, no, I mean generally, for Hibs. But this, at the moment, feels like it feeds into all those sort of issues that they may well have psychologically. And I'm not surprised. I think that comment that came up, it doesn't surprise me that you hear some Hibs fans thinking about that negatively looking at the bottom 6, whereas only a couple of weeks ago we were talking about there's the top 5 will be the top 5. That's what I thought.
Well, you thought even Hibs could close the gap maybe in Hearts and others.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure I said that, but
you wondered. I think your point was, why not look at the squad Hibs have got? Why should they not? I would have
been saying more generally in terms of Hibs and Motherwell looking at closing in on the teams above them.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
But obviously, it's not just Hearts that are above them.
Of course, that. So I meant at the top. Yeah.
Right. But I think,
don't try and pull yourself out of this. I'm sure you.
No.
I'll be going back to the episodes. Don't you? They're all on YouTube.
I'm trying to get you out of the hole that you were digging.
No. You're untangling yourself, mate.
The problem with Hibs is that performance at the weekend against Falkirk. It was quite alarming. They looked really dispirited. They looked like they were resigned to the fact that they were getting gubbed. And it's sort of not. I don't think I've seen that this season. There's been a lot of sort of close games that Hibs have come up on the wrong side of, but that's 4-1. That was a drubbing. Falkirk battered them, and just at a time where you're looking for a reaction off the back of the Dunfermline result.
That's what I was going to say.
It was the exact opposite, and they've got Rangers at the weekend at home. That to me feels like another one of the games where the derby, going into the derby, it's like Hibs need a big result and a big performance, or a fear that their season is going to start to unravel. But they're capable.
The weekend, by the way, it's obviously live in Premier Sports. What a great game to have. But do you know what, with that Hibs team, Alan, I feel sometimes the way they are, because I know about the injuries and all the illness they had at the weekend, the players missing, but still that starting 11 was more than good enough. And actually, in a weird way, I almost feel like they're more likely sometimes to produce the odd great result against a Rangers, a Celtic, or a Hearts, as you've seen at teams this season. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just because they've got good players who occasionally all turn up at the same time. Yeah,
I mean, we have seen it in the derby game, didn't we? But I still believe that they have struggled at times against the bigger clubs, if you want. They've not had too many successful games against them, and to get to that level, these are the teams that they have to be beaten. It's going to be a real interesting one at the weekend, because Rangers want to continue their form. Hibs want to get out of this kind of mess that they find themselves in. But I just feel, yeah, you have to. I mean, a team that's won 8 in a row, do you know what I mean? 5 clean sheets in a row, you'd have to go feeling confident. Do you know what I mean? You're sitting second in the league, you're chasing down just 4 points. You have to go there with confidence. But
you sounded overly confident before as well.
Hibs have got a really good team. I can't quite put my finger on what it is, why that kind of anxiety kind of creeps into their performance or whatever, because they should be up there. They should be higher up than what they are, and they should be putting in better performances consistently, and I think that's been a problem.
Just as well, there were only 3 Saturday games. As I say, come on, let's keep on going. Motherwell against Killie, the Steelmen again, Michael. 4 more goals, and I know Killie had a couple of moments in the game. The goal that was disallowed, just offside. I think they hit the crossbar as well, but still, Motherwell could have scored more in this match. Standout performance without a couple of their best players.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is marginal, but I think you could even see that it was angling towards going to be offside when you saw the replay of it. And then this decision here, Tom Lowry, that to me is just a foul. I don't know why. I don't know why he's producing a yellow card for that. This is an absolute top class goal. Love it. Absolutely love that.
Just has been brilliant too.
And Slattery, the two. I mean, there have been so many of them. Edge of the box, 1-2 like that. See, when it's done with pace, it's almost impossible to defend against. And then this again. Nick Walsh is so quick to brandish the yellow card. And, you talk about, players, he shouldn't be diving in when he's on a yellow card. How about the referee has a little bit of understanding and says, he's on a yellow card, I'll just take my time and not brandish the second yellow. I just think, go back to the point I was making. You're ruining games of football by sending people off for marginal calls.
Just give yourself a second to think, Mikey. Yeah. Just even, don't just quickly write that's a yellow. Just give yourself 10 seconds and then have a word, whatever.
And the thing is,
I actually think, Michael, the second one probably was a yellow card, but the first one is so marginal. And I think you're right. Having given the first yellow card, you've got to be absolutely certain to give a second one at that point. And it's a hard one at the speed of the game and everything else to make sure you absolutely know without the benefit of replays that that's a yellow card.
I don't think the second one is a yellow card either. It's just a foul. I mean, if you're booking somebody for that, he doesn't catch him high. He catches him in the boot. Yeah, it's a foul. But, if you're booking him for that, literally you're talking about a non-contact sport. I mean, see if you're a player or a manager watching that and Tom Lowry doesn't go to try and win the ball, you'd be going, what are you doing? You need to go and, But if you're punishing players for tackles like that, where all he's trying to do is get in and affect and flick the ball away, and he's a split second late, he's not high, his foot's on the ground, he's not catching him, anywhere that's, crazy. It just, and Nick Walsh, he's straight over with the yellow and the red. He knows. It's not like he's pulled the yellow out and gone, that's a second, I need to get my red out. He knows himself. So it feels to me like there's just this desperation to impose game-changing decisions, when really what we want from our officials is take a step back and actually we should be given the benefit of the doubt to people. Keep 11 men on the park and stop disallowing goals. Motherwell were outstanding though. Absolutely outstanding.
We would all agree with that. And I said missing a couple of their best players. Elliot Watt obviously not there. Stephen Welsh, we don't know the situation if he's going to come back or not. I know clearly that Asco wants confirmation from Celtic sooner rather than later, or else they'll look at the transfer market and pluck someone else. We mentioned last week in the show a new striker has arrived, Thor in up top as well, who came off the bench, didn't he? There's a lot to like. The Maswinise value though, surely after that game, it just goes up again. And I know he's been mentioned in the context of Rangers Celtic. I wonder about Hearts as well. It depends what Motherwell are asking, but does it not feel like a bit of a no-brainer? You've seen a guy go international level. 4 million's been mentioned. 4 million, okay.
Yeah.
Right. So that is a lot, but it's not to say necessarily that's the figure. But that's not confirmed, is it? But if a club goes in with a really good offer of 3 or something, would they get him? I don't know. But to me, the guy starting at international level and delivering week in, week out in the league, isn't that a more surefire bet than going into a different market, plucking a player hoping for the best?
Yeah, but see, for me, if I'm in his shoes, I'm saying, well, I want to play. But I've got, what is it? I've scored 11 goals. Is it?
I don't think he would at any of the clubs I just mentioned.
No, but I'm just saying you're going to have to fight for your position. Rangers are
Yeah.
strengthening. Hearts are strong up top. Celtic probably need somebody like that. It's probably more suited to them to strengthen their squad. But you want to go and play. But there's no point in being in that situation where you're playing at a high level. And by the way, Motherwell play some brilliant stuff. They were so good at times, the way they moved the ball. And by the way, on a bobbly pitch, the pitch wasn't great, and they're still moving it with pace, which was brilliant. So, but going back to Masmonisi, I think you have to go and play. There's no point in going and being a squad player. I don't think that helps anybody. And they'll want to keep them. They're only 5 points off Celtic. They might feel that they can claw that gap. Do you know what I mean? So
look at you.
Game on.
Loving that.
Game on. They want to keep all their players, won't they?
Do you not think that he would walk into either the Rangers or the Celtic side?
Yeah. But I'm thinking more like
Rangers,
long term.
Rangers' top goal scorer has got 6 goals, and 4 of them have been for the penalty spot.
I'm with you. I think that the confidence that he's playing with, the goals that he's scoring, I think he does play. I'm just thinking kind of further down the line, if these teams are strengthening season after season, are they going to be looking elsewhere? Is he going to fall down the pecking order? I'm not sure. Look, that would be down to him and what he brings to the table. But the form that he's on right now, yes, I think he plays, yeah.
And by that, I would agree with Hutch. I think from Motherwell's perspective, it would need to be like a big bid for them to entertain it. Otherwise, they're saying, no chance. Wait, because this is a potentially a special season that's unfolding for Motherwell, because you look at, that's another clean sheet that Motherwell have had.
Good point by John as well there, yep.
Mikey, it's like 10 in the last 12.
I don't think they've conceded a goal at Fir Park, by the way, since middle of October.
Yeah, it's quite incredible. They've got Rangers at Fir Park in a few weeks. Opportunity to close the gap on sides above them. Not like Al, you can laugh at it. I'm being serious.
I would be nervous about there, like going there, knowing how to play. Absolutely.
Yeah, you better believe, for all the reasons we've just spoken about, that is a mouth-watering game in a few weeks' time. And the bigger picture I'm talking about in terms of an incredible season potentially unfolding for Motherwell, I wouldn't write anything off with Motherwell. Alan's just saying there before, they're 5 points behind Celtic. Honestly, I don't think...
It all depends on this window.
I don't think it will happen, but put it this way, Motherwell are going to get into Europe. There's no question of that. It's just how far are they going to get in terms of what round are they going in? I wouldn't write them off in terms of getting higher up the table. They are... And go back to this. Stephen O'Donnell and Paul McGinn are the two centre-halves. They've got the best defensive record in the league. I mean, it's unbelievable. And Stephen Welsh, obviously, the other central defender, but he's back at Celtic. The concern on that one is that obviously with what happened at Tynecastle, I'm not sure that Celtic will allow him to go back now.
All depends on what happens next, of course, for Celtic in the transfer window, if they bring in other players. But you're right, with Motherwell, if they can keep those players, you just never know this season. And they are looking to add, clearly. We can't move on then without talking about Kilmarnock. Don't know what's happening with Finlay Curtis. Last week, it looked like that deal was going to be on, Alan. I've not seen any update. Obviously played for Rangers again yesterday. He's obviously somebody that would help Neil McCann. But Kelly, no wins in 17 now. And I think, those early chances in the game that we looked at, the disallowed goal, the red card doesn't help. It just feels like it's all mounting up on them at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, that's 3 red cards in a week that Kelly have had, which is, I know the other 2 against Dundee were late on, but it still doesn't help you. And they just look like they're lacking in confidence at this moment in time. I mean, they actually start the game not too bad. They get the goal and it's offside, right? And then you get them. It's as if it just is snowballing at this moment in time. You're kind of struggling to see where the next win's going to come from. I mean, no wins in 17. You're down the bottom. You're starting to get cut off for the rest of them. I mean, if St Mirren win their game in hand, I mean, it's going to be difficult, you feel. But they need bodies in. Neil McCann knows that he needs to strengthen that squad. They've lost so many kind of players that can win you games at the start of the season, and they've not really replaced that. So to get in a Finlay Curtis to the end of the season who can be a match winner, who can make things happen, has done really well with Rangers in the last couple of weeks. So that would be a huge plus for them. But they need somebody, they need help, because that group at this moment in time are struggling.
They've got, they've got Aberdeen away. Aberdeen at home next, Rangers away, and then they've got St Mirren at home, Celtic at home. That's the next 3 games.
Wow.
So they've got the next 4 games. They've got 3 at home against Aberdeen, St Mirren, and Celtic, and away to Rangers as well. That is a tough run, especially when we're talking about they haven't won in 17. Confidence is low. Having said all that, there are aspects of what I've seen in the last couple of games which do look better. But if you're not picking up results, and Alan will tell you how quickly even that sort of small, like, light at the end of the tunnel, belief that, things are actually getting a wee bit better, it diminishes and disappears in a flash. If they don't get a result, like, for example, against Aberdeen the weekend there, then it almost just feels like no matter what we're doing, even though we feel like we're playing a bit better now, the momentum, as you just mentioned, Darrell, feels like it's just running away from them.
Yeah, it does. Right, okay. On to Sunday then, Michael. On to Tynecastle. Hearts 2, Celtic 2. Just on the Jambos for starters then. They had a number of players out in this game. And obviously, new players being introduced to the team as well, like Mark Leonard being brought in. So overall, how do you assess the point for Hearts in the context of the game, the season and beyond?
Well, from the game itself, disappointing, because I think Hearts, they had the better of the game. They had far better opportunities. I mean, Kizaridis misses 2 wonderful opportunities. This one for Braga is a good one, but I mean, it's not a gilt-edged opportunity, whereas this is. I mean, from Kizaridis here, you're thinking to yourself, this is a goal. And when you're playing against the top sides, you can't really afford to pass up too many of them. But it shows you a side that are full of grit, determination, such a danger from set pieces. Obviously, having brought in Ross Grant, the set play coach at the start of the year, a lot was spoken about this. There's another chance there, wonderful chance for Kizaridis, his 2. But yeah, I mean, a lot was spoken about set plays. Rangers and Hearts both having set play coaches. They're the 2 top teams in terms of scoring from set plays. A lot was spoken about after the game. I'm not really sure what the point that was being made, but you can't argue from the fact that set play coaches, sides scoring more goals from them, they've got the components there, and they will have that for the rest of the season, with regards to good deliveries and players that want to go and attack the ball.
I'll come back to that, okay? I'll come back to that. But Alan, your views, first of all, in the game, Al.
Yeah, I thought overall, over the piece, I thought Hearts deserved to win, actually. If I'm totally honest, I think Mikey spoke about it. They had the better chances. They created more. They showed great character, I think, to come back twice and get back into the game. But when you're up there and your title contenders, that's what you want to see from your team. So, yeah, I mean, you look at how many chances we're looking at here. I mean, it's all Hearts. Celtic, of course, played midweek. It was a difficult game for them. They put a lot of energy into that. Played with 10 men for a long period of time. I thought that maybe kind of harmed them a little bit, I suppose, in that game. But over the piece, I thought Hearts were excellent. I thought they created the big chances. Just unlucky not to get it over the line.
And the belief, Michael, the belief that Hearts can take from this, because of all the players I've just said to her out, Rogers Matos to come into the team, now that deal is done. I thought Leonard did very well as the game grew. I thought as he sort of found his feet in the game after maybe a nervy first 10, 15 minutes. But it looks as if they've made good additions. Can they sustain it, though, without some of the players who are out? And equally, does that game show them, if they needed any sort of questions answered themselves, there's confidence they can go on?
First of all, on the point of the players that were missing, I thought going into this game, I thought the manager spoke, I think it was during the week, and he made a great point about just trying to steady the ship a little bit, because it felt like there was almost like panic stations from some quarters. It was like, look, we're a strong squad. We're a good squad, and I thought he nailed it. Clearly, the recruits needed to come in because there's gaping holes there. But McEntee's back fit as well, which obviously just helps to sort of calm the situation as well. I thought Mark Leonard, I think you're absolutely spot on. As the game went on, you could start to see the quality that he's got. And it was having a bigger impact in the game. He's different to what Hearts have had in the middle of the park. He's got far greater quality and passing range than the players that Hearts have in the middle of the park. But what Hearts have had is just pure energy and athleticism this season. And you could clearly see, I wouldn't just say it was the first 10, 50 minutes. I'd say the most of the first half, he was trying to find his feet a little bit. Yeah. And that's no great surprise because, I mean, seriously, the game's frantic. It's 100 miles an hour. And he's trying to settle into a new team, settle into a game that was, as we've just said, 1,000,000 miles an hour. And I thought second half in particular, he really started to show what a positive addition he'll be. The top of the parks is where there's a little bit more of a, not a concern, but a little bit more of a question mark around it.
I thought Kabori did well at times. I thought he was a handful at times.
He is, but he doesn't look like he's going to be a goal threat. Now, Hearts have got goal threats from other areas, granted, but I think I'm looking for, every time I'm watching Kabori now, I'm looking and thinking capable, but I'm waiting for him to actually finish something off or do something, you know?
But as you was back in the bench as well, right? I know he's not obviously a striker, but he's a creative option. And as I say, with Rogers Matto as well, going to find out a lot more about Hearts, I think, the next 2 or 3 weeks, about their forward areas, the quality there.
And Chesnikov's got, he needs to get a couple of weeks to get back up to speed because I thought he looked off the pace a little bit in the Falkirk game. I've got to say, Kurjota, the last few games he has appeared in, he looks dangerous. Looks like he's got a wee bit of quality there. I mean, over the piece, Hearts have got a cracking squad. And yes, they're missing some key players. And yes, the next few weeks will put extra pressure on that squad. But so
does it
far,
make them favourites now, Michael?
Well, in terms of favourites, I think anybody that would be telling you, who's a favourite to win the league is either blinded by an allegiance or they're foolish, to be perfectly honest.
So can they do it or can't they?
Well, they definitely can do it. They definitely can do it. I don't think there's any doubt.
More belief after that. Surely more belief
absolutely.
after that. Right, come on, we've got to talk about Celtic as well, obviously. Chivanchara, obviously, coming into the team too and having a bit of an impact, but didn't do a lot other than set up the goal. But it does look as if he could be a good addition, Alan, someone different in the striker position for them. And as you just said, Celtic had a tough week. And I just wonder at the start of this week, going over to Italy and forget about how the game's played out, but getting a point over there and then going to Tynecastle and getting a point, which means you're still right in the mix in the title race. It's not a bad week at all, is it? No,
it's definitely not. Look, when they went up 2-0 against Bologna, I thought this will be a brilliant result. As long as they get something right, everything that's happened. They come out with a point. I still think it was a good point. Going to Tynecastle, which is very difficult, the league leaders, again, to come out with a point is not bad. I think you're just staying there in the hunt. But they'll have to pick up. There's no getting away from that. If they can see themselves winning the league, they have to do better. They have to be winning games like that. But Chivanchara comes in. I think he's different for what they have, even though he's big. Martin O'Neill said it himself. He's not a target man. He's got decent pace. He's okay with his feet. I think, again, he's been thrown in. We've seen signs of what he's capable of. Some things that he has to get better at. But, I mean, he's just come to the club, do you know what I mean? It doesn't happen overnight, and that's probably the most difficult game you can fling him into. So, yeah, done decent enough, but it's really, I just think it's so interesting. I know we laugh and we joke, and I'm saying about points dropped and everything, but it has just been an incredible season so far, and this just adds to it because it just tightens things up, and we need to just see where it goes.
And from what I heard last week, I should say, Michael, it does sound like Celtic are going to bring in at least 2 more players. So, and I know they're missing important players as well. They have for most part of this season. Their fans might be watching and say, well, you're talking about Hearts missing key players. Celtic
some of their players need to do better,
yes.
By the way. See, when you think about it, Maeda, Engels, all these guys.
Engels and Negrin, I thought, dropped way out the game at times again.
But you know, like, look, you have to acknowledge the fact that, I mean, Carter Vickers, Jota, Alistair Johnson, these are key players. There's no doubt about that. But I think what you need to also understand is that we're talking about the disparity between Celtic and Rangers and the financial gulf of what they are able to spend to what Hearts are spending.
Of course.
It's huge. So Celtic and Rangers should be able to carry injuries more easily than Hearts.
No, and that's why obviously we flagged the key Hearts players been out. That's why we've done that in a more important sense, and it's more recent injuries.
And for Hearts to be able to genuinely have a real tilt at the title, they need the likes of Celtic and Rangers to have had an off period, which they have had this season. But let's be clear about this as well. Hearts are at the top of the table, not because of what Rangers and Celtic have done. They're there because of what they've done. They deserve to be at the top. They've beaten Rangers and Celtic 4 times this season and now drawn against Celtic. So Celtic need to recruit. Yeah, I mean, they're playing catch-up. And
time is running out. Right, we can't move on from this game then without talking about the red card. So, Alan, your take, first of all. The fact that a yellow is given on the park, then it goes to VAR. So the 2 questions to you, Al. What should have been given in the first place? And having then given only a yellow card, should VAR intervene?
Look, when I first seen it, I can only go on when I first seen it, I thought red card. Me personally, I think you can take into consideration the angle of the ball. It's maybe going away from goal. I don't think anybody's getting round on the cover. I feel if Kabore stays on his feet, he's taking a touch and he's having a shot goal. Whether it's just outside the box, just inside the box, if he scores or he doesn't, I don't know. But I feel he would have been in control of the ball and he would have got a strike off. Therefore, he should have been showed a red card at the start. That's how I looked at it. That was my.
So you're saying they got it right in the end, in your view?
And then for me, yes. The only thing I think there's a question mark is the angle of the ball. If it's going more straight, then instantly bang red card. But I still felt that Kabore would have gotten control of the ball and at least had a shot. Whether it was in, I don't know. So I presumed when I first seen it, the red card would be showed at the start and he would go.
Michael?
I mean, look, what you need to ask folk is what constitutes a goal-scoring opportunity? I mean, if you were to say a striker picking the ball up 8 yards to the side of the goal on the edge of the box, does that constitute, and a defender not within 5 yards of you, would you say that constitutes a goal-scoring opportunity?
Are you talking Schvolov?
No. I'm talking about this incident because
this one in particular,
if you actually look, and I've heard a lot about the angle of the ball. Yeah, but let's be clear. The ball's still going towards the goal in terms of up the park. Yes, it's going at a slight angle, but as Alan's just spoken about, Kabore's running towards the ball. And the point I'm trying to make to you here is, I think when he touches the ball, he's still going to be like, say, roughly 6 to 8 yards to the side of the goal, which is nothing when he touches it. And then he's going in on goal from the edge of the box. So I don't think there's not a covering defender that's going to affect what Kabore's doing. So I don't really understand how anybody could argue that wasn't a goal-scoring opportunity. For an attacker to pick the ball up around about the edge of the box, 6 to 8 yards on the angle, come on, how's that not a goal-scoring opportunity?
The only thing I would say is, having only seen a yellow card brandished first time round, and then when VAR are looking at it and they have to think about angle of the ball and our defender's going to get back and is he going away from goal, when you actually look at the laws of the game and the guidance, I was actually then quite surprised it was upgraded, even though my instinct, like you guys, was red card straight away. But having seen a yellow and the way VAR is in Scotland,
Darrell, I think
and how
he's a
often
defender.
they don't want to get involved, though, that's why I was slightly surprised that they.
I thought it was a really poor decision from Stephen McLean because he's run up the, as I said to you, the ball's moving towards the goal. Yes, it's at a slight angle, but I'll go back. I think you brought up there Schwolow. Incident.
I thought you were going to say that
at Dens Park. When you look at all the factors that need to come in, and by the way, it looked as if universally folk were like, no, it's a red card. My point in all that was far less of a red card than Trusty's one, because the ball was going at right angles from the goal.
Yeah.
It was almost stationary. There was a defender within about a yard or two of the ball. Yet it seemed like everybody was like, no, that's a definite red card. So this, to me, falls into the category of where Rangers and Celtic in particular, with the volume of supporters and the size of the club, makes so much noise that it actually influences the narrative and the debate about this. This has been spoken about more as a controversial red card than the Schwolov one was. And I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I can see your point on that one. Anyway, listen, we could go on about the game for quite a while. I thought it was quite a big call to put Craig Gordon back in goal too. I think Schwolov's done very well this season. But anyway, Derek McInnes has made a lot of big calls this season. Most of them have worked for him. On to Rangers against Dundee, obviously kicking off supposedly at the same time. Al, VAR wasn't working at the start of the game, so short delay. Eventually, VAR was back in action. A goal was chopped off, as you probably know, in the game in the end. Penalty decision as well, I'm sure we'll talk about. But overall, Rangers needed to win. I saw the extended highlights. I thought Dundee actually played very well at times in this match too, Alan. But Rangers are finding a way right now, aren't they?
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head. They're finding a way. I don't think it was an amazing performance. Like, they did create opportunities. I think the Ludogorets game and this final third decision making at times has to be better. But if you look at the result on paper and you go 3-0, you think, oh, it's comfortable, even though two of the goals were late on. It wasn't. I think defensively, Dundee were really good, organised, made it difficult. This for me is a penalty, and look, Ashley, I think he's doing the right thing as a defender, and he's trying to get a block on.
You don't always get him given though when the shot's away.
No, I know the shot is away, but I think he then follows right through. So for me, it is a penalty. But
yeah, it does look wild. I'd agree with that. There was a Kabori one as well, by the way. Hearts against Celtic. He shoots and he's caught, no penalty. So all I'm just saying is you don't always get that one. But
I'm with you. I'm with you, but just when I seen it, I normally go off my own instincts when I see things first time, and I thought that would have been given as a penalty. But over the piece, I thought Rangers done enough, of course, to win and get the 3 points. Dundee definitely made it difficult for them. But I think the introduction of Chukwane, Skov Olsen, I know they only played 50-55 minutes, but it's going to maybe take them a couple of weeks to get right up to speed. You could see technically that they are gifted players and they'll bring a lot to the team moving forward. I think
and it looks as if Rangers are about to add again, Al. Don't know if you've been across socials tonight. Ryan Norderi from Hansa Rostock, a striker, a big striker, third division in Germany, I believe it is, but he scored a few goals this season. Yeah. But obviously, he would provide a different look for Rangers up top, and it looks like Danilo might be away.
Yeah, and look, Danilo, if rumours are true, he's going for about 3 million. They paid 6 for him. It's just not worked out in terms of injuries, form, all that. So I think it's time that he goes and tries something different to get somebody else in, because Chermiti, Mitov have had moments. That's what they've had, moments, and they have scored goals. But you want to see them at that consistent level where Dessers was, where Morelos was. And I know it's easy to say and it's hard to do, but you need to see more from these guys, especially the money that's been kind of forked out for them. And to see that they're going to be looking at somebody to bring in, I think it's like 8 goals in 17 games or something like that.
And you'd imagine that's the manager using his contacts very well.
You would obviously
have thought so. Country he knows very well, so you'd imagine that's maybe a kind of signing that somebody he's tracked for a while.
Yeah.
Michael, on Rangers, do you see a lot of progression from them? I know you'll probably talk about the penalty as well, if you like, in the last few minutes of this show. But do you see a lot of progression? And is it enough progression with the current squad? Maybe they will add again, maybe they won't. Is it enough to sustain a challenge right at the top?
Well, I mean, first of all, for me, it's a penalty kick. Just like Alan's saying. Visually, you see it, and Raskin, he's like wiped out, he's fallen over. But I think you're right. You don't always see those types of things always being given. But I think it's the right call.
They should be given, I agree.
Ryan Astley, he catches them. He wipes them out. But it's not always given. But I do think that was the right call. In terms of progress, well, the progress is the points that are getting picked up. I think that, see the 2 goals that are scored in injury time, I think are, in a sort of weird way, are very, very important, because it starts to give Rangers a little bit of belief that they can score from open play, because they've got such a heavy reliance on set pieces. As I said earlier on to Huts about Mas Winise, he's 11 goals. Rangers' top goal scorers, Tavernier, was 6. 4 of them are from the penalty spot.
100th league goal as well.
Yeah.
For a right back, unbelievable, Mikey.
Aye, we're talking about this season and the relevance, Alan. And
just saying,
I think that they need to try and find somebody that's going to be able to find the back of the net with some, regular with occurrence. Because when you're talking about progress, there is clearly progress made.
There's a belief now.
Yeah, because I don't see, as much as obviously it is all about picking up 3 points, and they may well prove to be the exception to the rule here, I don't see a team being able to win the title and not having somebody that's scored double figures. And at the moment, you're touch and go as to whether they'll have somebody that scores double figures. Because the next best is...
Scott Olsen obviously looks as if he could make a big difference, Michael, but I agree in terms he can maybe assist more, help create more, but you're right. Do they have the focal point? Is Chermiti going to be consistent enough when he comes back?
Asgard and Chermiti, I think, sitting on 4 goals, and Fernandez as well, around about that. So I'm looking and thinking to myself, is there a team capable of winning the title that has a guy who scores, say even if it's 10 or 11 goals, and then the next one's like 6 or 5? I'm not sure that's, title winning qualities, to be honest.
Alan, on that, Rangers look as if they're clearly trying to address the striker position. Whether or not that player is the answer, Ryan Norderi, if he comes in, who knows? But surely they need a centre half. Because John Souttar was out again at the weekend. He's had loads of injury problems. I don't know the current situation, I should say. But the pairing that they're having to field at the moment, that's not going to win you a title, is it?
No, I don't feel that it is, if I'm totally honest. I think when Souttar's fit and he plays along beside Fernandez, he makes Fernandez better. I think because John Souttar, he's calm, he understands, he's the kind of leader and he gets the best out of him. When it's Jigga and Fernandez, it's like you're waiting for something to happen. And I don't ever think that that's a good place to be in. So are they going to be looking at a centre-half? Probably. I think they'll probably have targets they're looking at. But if Souttar can stay fit, Cornelius comes back, Fernandez is still there, then you're thinking, right, maybe we don't have to do it right now. I think Mikey's spot on in what he says. You need your striker, 10-plus goals. You need your wingers to be hitting numbers like that. I think if you look at Celtic in previous years, with the front three they've had and the goal scorers from midfield, that's what wins you leagues. These guys all contributing with goals, and there's too many Rangers players in there just now that haven't quite hit that height and the numbers that they need. I
don't know if I said this, by the way. I should have said when we were talking about the trusty decision. Celtic have appealed that, so we'll see what happens. Just looking ahead, Celtic have got a huge game in Europe on Thursday, Alan, Utrecht. Just while we're talking Rangers, how do you go about a game against Porto then? A very good team. Rangers obviously out of the competition now, but they talk of momentum continuing. So what do? Do you go and play a lot of the youngsters, or do you try to still field a more than competitive team and hope you get some sort of decent result over there?
Look, I think you have to put out a competitive team that can go and do something. I mean, there's going to be nothing worse than going to play Porto and you get absolutely leathered and you come back after a good run, and that's what you're doing. If that was his mindset, he would have done that against Ludogorets, I would have thought. Because, look, they weren't qualifying anyway, so why go strong
That was
there?
A more winnable game, though, was it not?
No, but still, see as a player, you know you're going into a hard game. But if you're going in with kids and inexperienced players to play that team and they walk all over you, I just don't think that's it's not good for the team in general.
We'll see what happens. Okay,
that's 2 home
games.
Michael,
I need to do the promos, mate. You're going to get me in trouble again.
2 home games there, which are a little bit easier to juggle, whereas they're coming into 2 away games now. Porto followed by Hibs. That's a more difficult one to juggle.
Exactly, and that was my sort of wondering point. Right, loads of good games to come. I mentioned Hibs against Rangers live next weekend in Premier Sports. Can't wait to watch that one. Massive game in league terms. Then the Scottish Cup fixtures have been confirmed. You've probably seen. You can see Celtic against Dundee Saturday the 7th. Aberdeen Motherwell later that night as well. Also Rangers Stranraer, we think, that weekend. And then there's more games later in February, all live in Premier Sport. Looking forward to it. Out of time. Alan, Michael, thank you. See you next week. Bye for now.